Welcome to the Spiritual Underground Podcast, coming to you from the studio at DTM Enterprises, the wood shop out here in my backyard we've started using to record these things. Today we got a little group. We're going to try and, I want to try to mix this thing up and have those stories we've been doing, those one guy's story kind of things. I really don't, what I don't want is a rut where it's the same thing every time we sign on. So these little roundtables we've been having have worked out well. We've had a couple of them to begin with, and I've kind of fell on that. It's kind of tough to get everybody in. It's not tough. It's just a scheduling issue to get everybody in a room together, and more so it's just saying, let's do it and schedule it and see who shows up, right? So that's what we're doing today. We'll take and go around the room here real quick and everybody give a little introduction to who they are. Of course, this is Dan. I just rolled over 4 years of sobriety this past month. Had 2 celebrations last weekend of the month, man. It just touches my heart to get to do what I'm doing today and have the guys around me to do it with. I tear up and get just a ton of juice walking this path. And what I feel like saying is that thing, that cliche thing of more than I deserve, but that's not the truth. I know that's not the truth anymore. I deserve every bit of juice, every drop of juice I can scoop up today, as we all do. So we'll go around the table this way. I'll give you Erikk.
I'm Erikk, also known as fucking Erikk. Today is 600 days of sobriety for me.
All right, 600 even?
600 on the nose.
Too cool.
So I kind of realized that from something that I have that gives daily motivation and sobriety, balancing. It even tells me how much money I have not spent on my booze.
Oh, yeah.
It's been a crazy journey. I have to say that the area that I'm in with my support group and things that I found in sobriety, I would have never expected coming in the door. So it's been an amazing ride, very eye-opening. All the things that I never thought sobriety could be have, been exactly what I've found. My eyes open a little bit more every day, and I'm so grateful for the journey.
Jesse.
I'm Jesse.
Good morning.
Good morning. I've got 17 days sober.
With a big old smile on his face as he says that.
On this round of sobriety, I've been in and out of the program for about 8 years. I think this time I feel a little bit different because I got here somewhat because I chose to be instead of being forced to be or feeling compelled to be. I got to a place in my life where nothing catastrophically bad happened, but after I got a taste of sobriety especially with the group of people that I'm in, I went back out and tried to find that same kind of feeling elsewhere, and it didn't work. So it just I just wanted to get back to the feeling I had before, and it wasn't out there. So that's where I'm at today, and I'm just got a new sponsor, so excited to get back into the work and get that feeling back.
Yeah, so let me jump in there real quick because Jesse had a little talk. We were rounding up who was going to be here today, and Jesse texted me, and he was saying something about whether if, I think he asked the question, do you think I have anything to contribute?
Yes.
And that's another thing about what we're trying to do here is that, it's really not a matter of time. It's not a matter of all that stuff. It's a matter of keeping on, keeping on the path, and you said 8 years, that's exactly how long I've been hanging around too, but the line between the click that happened, the snap in the universe that changed my life was a little while ago. I'm actually on the even. I was 4 years of bouncing, 4 years actually continuous sobriety now. But everybody has something, and I know you have. The fact of the matter is we don't really lose our recovery. We might lose our sober days, our day count, but we pile this stuff up, and yes. So I told you quickly, yes.
Jesse, that's all
you do have something to contribute. So I'm glad you're here, man.
Text back.
Nick, how's it going this morning, man?
Good, I'm Nick. I just got 5 years about a month ago. So just excited to continue this journey of recovery. I've told Jesse in private, but kind of piggybacking on what Dan was just saying, that the whole time that he was back out there experimenting with some more misery, I missed him. I asked about him to people I thought maybe ran into him. I don't think people in the bars or drug dens were missing you now.
Probably not.
But we miss you, and and also, man, the thing I've learned is that it's all about quality, not quantity. You can have 17 sober days and have the kind of quality of sobriety that someone with years doesn't have. So, yeah, we count because it's important, but at a certain point, that's not the most important thing. Happiness, the recovery, the freedom, the vulnerability is the most important thing. So I'm glad you're here. I'm glad I get to participate in this today.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. Welcome.
I'm Shane Gibson. Today I have, tomorrow it'll be 2 years and 4 months sober. So, yeah,
Right.
we're all, like, right in there. I would have sold myself short if I wrote down what I wanted out of sobriety for what I have today.
Yeah, for sure.
It's amazing, this journey that we're on, and seeing you guys grow and having Jesse back, man, yeah, that's awesome, dude. I still texted him every day while he was out in the madness. Found his phone that somebody else had found at a bar, and got his phone back to him somehow, some way.
Full of your text messages?
Yeah, for my text messages. Yeah, if it weren't for my text messages, he would have got his phone back. No. Just grateful to be here with my brothers and my tribe and see what happens today. And this is one of the first days I'm not nervous getting on the mic. I had that nervous excitement, but not nervous like I usually am. So every time we do these, I'm feeling a little better about it, and I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for all y'all to show up. We hope that I like to see this get like a real well-rounded group of people coming through all the time. The same thing with the stories and whatnot. So I thought I had an idea today about how we would talk. I was kind of thinking of I can't remember, someplace along the line I've seen something like a lightning round thing. Where we go around the table with a topic, and mix it up rather than a single topic all day long. So what I thought, I've got a whole bunch of topics from this. I hesitate. I stumble when I say this stuff. But so I've had the opportunity to host this men's retreat for a few years, and I do a little thing on Saturday nights where we draw topics out of a bucket and share on them, and I've kept all those. So I actually sat down last night and I cut them all back out and I put them in a bucket. So there's some place in the neighborhood probably of upwards of about 125 or so topics, and some of them will be duplicates too. So I thought about overthinking it. I really thought about overthinking it and filtering them, and I started off with two piles, the ones that was going to make the cut and the ones that weren't going to make the cut. And then I said, fuck that, and I shuffled them all together and I stuck them in this bucket I made for, that was a project somebody started, wanted, and then they canceled it halfway through, and I never did do anything. And then it cracked later on, so I'm wondering about what. But anyway, so they're in there. So what I thought I would do is I got my random number generator here on my phone, and I'm going to set it up to a number, okay? So if it lands, like I'm going to put it on 30, it's going to draw numbers between 1 and 36. And if it lands on a 1 through 12, we'll share on a step. We'll talk about that. We'll go around the table. We'll kind of mix it up. What I'm going to try to do is start with somebody different every time around, so we take turns.
Gotcha.
And then if it lands on some other number other than a 1 to 12, whoever's starting draws out of the bucket, and we do once around the hoop on that. Now, obviously we can, if you really don't have anything, nothing's coming to you or whatever, we can pass. One thing, I look around this room and I don't see a lot of passes.
More a lot of shut ups.
Yeah, right. Yeah. This group has to take that. Somebody, I had that opportunity the other day at work that never pass up an opportunity to shut your fucking mouth. And I employed that, but on this microphone is not the place necessarily to do that. But feel free to pass if it's not something coming to you, if you don't have anything going. The other thing is I try not to overthink what I'm going to say while the other guy's sharing too. So that's the beauty of that thing on the Saturday night meeting we do at the retreat, is that you have to share from your gut rather than from your head. In typical meeting where we have a topic, I'm most time as guilty as anybody is sitting around thinking about what am I going to say? What profound shit am I going to say? So with that, I'll hit the button, and does anybody want to volunteer to start?
Don't raise your hand too quickly.
I'll
There you
fucking
go.
do it.
All right, cool.
That
Well,
fucking
Eric will
guy.
start, and we'll see if we get a 1 to 12.
Fucking do it.
Or if we get a topic to draw out of the topic bucket, the bucket o topics.
Top it,
Drum
bucket.
roll.
Top it,
Yeah,
bucket.
drum rolls.
That's a horrible
tune
drummer.
in-
You're the drummer.
Tune
you
in
do
next
it.
week for Podcast Pictionary.
24.
Draw.
Draw.
You had already
24
been
was-
shot.
24 was the first number.
Yep.
I got it
Juice?
set to 1 to 36. That way, it's got a 1/3 chance to hit a step, 2/3
What's
to
24?
draw out of the bucket.
The most
24
satisfying
hours.
years of your existence lie ahead of you.
That is a great line out of the big book.
You know what? If you'd have told me this coming into recovery, I'd have told you you're full of shit. Never fucking believed you. Not that my life was amazing before coming into recovery. I lived in misery. But it was my fucking misery, right? That was my house that I built with this depravity. But I have no idea why our disease enjoys that misery so much. But I would have never told you that I could be happy. I would have never told you that I could be happy. I would have never thought that my life could have direction and meaning and something that I would have only found in the rooms of recovery. I don't hate those years of being in that pit because I would have never tasted the sweetness of my recovery until I had that pain. And, I've got a 6-month-old son now, a wife that doesn't look at me with shame, regret, anger every fucking day. I got a family. Like, my mom could have written me off years ago, and she moved in with us to help us with some stuff. So, the miracles for me, the promises for me, I see them every day in my life. And I'm not somebody who will dwell on my negativity anymore, that sorrow. I'm somebody who really does see miracles in everything in my life, and that's because of this program. And it really is a system of growth, and I love it, man. I wouldn't trade it for the world. So I'll call that a day so we can make it through some topics.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. And that's another thing. I thought about maybe putting a timer on it. I don't know. I think what I'll do is I'll keep the time and just kind of watch it, and maybe if we get to going over like 5 minutes and that kind of thing per share, maybe I'll go.
Bum, 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 bum.
No big deal. It's just trying to do a little bit of time share. Jesse.
Best days. What was it again? Best days of my life.
You're
The most satisfying years of your existence lie ahead of you. Well, I kind of just said it. I had some time under my belt and was working some steps and doing the right things. And honestly, I don't know what happened, but I went back out to try to find that peace of mind somewhere else, and it wasn't there. So, having that feeling. Something fundamentally changed in 2010 when I first met Christopher. He kind of told me my brain was just never going to work like other people's.
Yep.
I had a disease. My brain was diseased, and it was just wired differently. And that was really the beginning of my journey. So prior to that, I was looking for the same stuff elsewhere, and my life got better that day. I just haven't fully been able to follow this program to a T, and so I'm still kind of looking for those best days, those best years of my life. But things got better just the moment I went down the path of recovery. So like you said, when I went back out, you don't lose all that time. I've slowly gotten better, so I've kind of seen the change, and I kind of had to keep seeing the change to realize where I was coming from. And like on this last run, when I went back out, I fully realized where I was and where I could go. And I didn't like the path I was going back down. And I know that when I get back with the program, that the the rewards are there as long as I stay focused on it. And, I'm kind of blessed because I didn't have to lose everything, really, to realize I was an alcoholic. Yet. And somebody said something in a meeting the other night that and this really kind of epitomized how I was feeling, which was if someone else had the life that I had who wasn't an alcoholic, would they be doing the same things I'm doing? Would they be self-sabotaging? Would they be hurting other people? Would they be miserable with all the blessings they have? And that really stuck with me because I really know that I'm very blessed, and I want to enjoy that and be the kind of man I know I need to be and be there for other people. And I wasn't doing any of that. I have all these blessings, and I'm basically trying to destroy them. And how sick is that, So I'm looking forward to getting a different perception and a different frame of mind to feel those best years. With that, I'll pass.
Cool. Thanks, Jesse. Nick?
I have no doubt that the most satisfying years of my existence lie ahead. The path of my journey has been that the first year of sobriety was learning how to not drink and not be miserable at the same time. There are times in my life where I was able to go a month or two putting down a certain substance, never everything at once, but I could put down alcohol and some other stuff and just smoke weed, and I wasn't happy though. So that first year was learning that I could be happy, I could be content without the substances. The second year was learning all the other things that were going to pop up in my alcoholic brain to try to fill that hole. That I was going to act out in other areas of my life, whether it be spending money or food or whatever, that I was going to look for contentment in. That was another outside issue. Then once I kind of got over those hurdles, I feel like the past 3 years have really been a search for things that I want to do that do satisfy me. And I've found those things to be endless. To stop judging a thing before I try it, to just look at something that brings a friend of mine contentment and satisfaction and say, oh, I'll try that. And if I don't like it, no big deal. If I do, it's another thing in my repertoire.
Yeah.
I read, I meditate, I spend actual quality time where I'm focused on my family, on my kids. I know that next week I'll probably find something else that satisfies me, and it'll be another healthy thing. And that journey, that never stop seeking, is why I can sit here and tell you without a doubt that everything going forward is going to be satisfying me, because that's what I do. I look for those things now. I don't pigeonhole myself into oblivion and think that's the only thing that's going to make me feel better right now. I got a lot of other things going on that really bring me enjoyment, and I don't, to a certain extent, I don't care what the outside world thinks about those things anymore. If it makes me happy and I'm not hurting somebody, that's kind of my parameters. And that gives me a lot of joy and a lot of guilt-free contentment.
Yeah, cool, Nick. Shane.
Yeah, so I couldn't fathom what my life has in store for me, because every day does get better and better. I mean, life still happens, but I can't imagine it getting any better than this. You know, if that sounds odd or whatever, but I really can't. I don't want for nothing in life. I just keep seeking and looking what's going to make me feel even better, but I don't need to feel any better than I feel right now, if that makes sense, you know? It's very content with where I'm at right now, you know? And I keep trying these new things that people will suggest, and if it's for me, it's for me. If it's not, it's not. You know, like Nick said, don't take out my repertoire, you know? I enjoy trying those new things, like these different mantras that I'm using right now. Man, they've helped me so much. It's just amazing the way I feel today, and every day. It's just more and more and more and more every day. Getting away from that old stinking thinking I used to have, because I had everything I thought would make me happy before I got sober. I had all those things, those, you know, just things. But I never had this happiness and joy and love in my heart. That void is filled now, and my cup runneth over. It's just like I just keep passing it out to everybody else because I don't need all this, you know. And I can't imagine it getting any better, but it's going to. I know, and that's the cool part about it. It just lights up my life every day thinking about how could it get any better than this, and it's going to. That's amazing to me.
Yeah, super cool. Back to me, Dan. And I did such a good job of listening. Where did that topic go?
Right here.
Says the most satisfying. Don't tear it all the way up.
Most
I'll
satisfying
use that
years of
again.
your life.
Years is
Fixed
what it says.
magic
That was the
years.
word that I couldn't remember if it said years or days or what
Years.
did it say exactly. You know, guys, I'm big on that term of like what I get to do today. You know, and right soon off, if I hear somebody say they have to do something, I'm really fast to say you get to, right? And that keeps on coming back to me day after day after day. That, you know, the things that I get to do today. You know, if the past 4 years are any are representative of what the future is going to hold, and I think I heard a little bit of what Shane said, like that actually this is enough, but I know that is not all. That's the thing. I could be okay where I'm at right now, but I have a full belief that more is to come. I have absolutely. I'm convinced of it. The fact of the things that's fell at my feet while I get to do this thing, you know, that I don't quite get a grip on, and I don't look, you know, to me, somewhat looking at the gift horse in the mouth kind of thing, is that, you know, like this very wood shop that I'm sitting in now, that I get to come out here and this thing was manifested basically in my recovery. And now it's actually turned, you know, so I thought it was cool when I got to come out here and fool around and make wood stuff, which I'm going to be doing in a little while. After this closes up, I'm going to get busy making sawdust. But now we're doing this podcast in here, right? Now, who'd have thought that, right? You know, get to be able to do this. So now here, this little idea that we bantered about on our little group that we was maybe going to, that wouldn't it be cool if we did this, and a little bit of a dreamy thought kind of thing. You know, it's kind of like I don't know, you look at like the dreams we used to have when we'd sit around drinking and we'd say we're going to do this someday or we're going to do that someday, you know, and those things never did come to fruition. But like today, I can actually think about doing things and actually put some things in action behind them to actually help make them happen in my life. You know, take action to get to the places that I wish or I hope I could get to. The men's retreats, the other things going on. I know that when that friend of ours' book comes out, and we're going to have new opportunities to share this 12-step philosophy with other people, and I know that's like, talk about satisfying years is going to be, and I really don't have any doubt about it that stuff is going to come around. That whole doubtful feeling has vanished out of my mind. The yoga has another thing. I draw a lot of stuff. I find a lot of philosophy out of yoga that I can lean on today, much like I do on 12-step philosophy and the terms and the principles that we use here. Is one of the things is be a yes. It's that simple. Even to the point that like when we hang in ragdoll and you hang forward with your neck loose, you hang your head down. We want to shake. They tell us to shake our head because that allows us to know our neck is. We have a tendency to hold a lot of tension in our neck, and so when we say shake your head yes and no, but end on a yes. You know, so that you're not ending your story, your pose, shaking your head in a negative fashion. And I can bring that whole philosophy into my life that I know today. Today I can be a yes for the blessings that come down to me. That's another thing. I think we blocked. You know, that thing says we blocked ourselves, right? Well, we were blocked from this sunlight of the Spirit, is the way it says there. I'm no longer blocked anymore. I'm an open vessel to receive whatever the universe can pour down on me. I'll stop there. And one of the things is in our home group, we have a 3-minute bell. And I noticed too, like when I'm out and about in town with my buddies, and as I'm sitting here timing our little talks as we share here to see where we're at, everybody's like stopping right about that 3-minute mark. We've been trained well.
Don't you have to look at it?
Somebody said something the other day about a guy who hadn't sponsored the whole time. I was at a birthday the other night, and a guy, as he introduced him, he said, he came to me already trained. I thought that was a neat way to put that. You know, he was a later sponsor in this guy's recovery.
Yeah, had some years on.
Yeah, I said he come to me already trained. All right, let's hit the number generator.
Drum roll, please.
and we'll start with you.
Oof.
And it'd come up on a 6. Do you know step 6?
6.
We're entirely
Ready
ready.
to have God remove these defects of character.
Something of that nature.
Oof. That's
You
a
can
hard
still
one
share
for
on it,
me.
man. I mean, you've been up to, and so I'll start you.
I've
You've
been up to step 10.
Right, so you have some step 6 under your belt. You can't just
I
cop
do.
out and say you don't know nothing about
I
it.
do, you know.
Maybe you don't have any character defects.
I don't.
That's probably
I'm practically perfect in every way. That's why I'm here at day 17. You know, I have to start that with just looking back through my inventory process, going through the inventory and finding my place in all of my resentments and animosities and uncomfortable feeling in life. And, you know, sharing that in step 5 and then talking, you know, boiling down all of the convoluted web of resentments and disappointments and misgivings in life, and having someone explain, you know, having boil all that down and actually make a clear list of what's actually driving underneath me. I learned kind of the metaphor of a computer program where, you know, a lot of the stuff we go through wasn't really my fault. It's an artifact of being around sick people, sick things, sick institutions, and that stuff just gets so interwoven in your head throughout 40 years of life at this point. And being able to clearly get all that on a piece of paper so that you actually know what you're asking God to remove was really helpful for me.
Yeah.
That was kind of my biggest experience from it, was to be able to see that list clearly. It's like I could have prayed for or asked God to remove this feeling I had, but it wasn't really removing a defect of character. You know, I didn't know what my defects of character were. So
Yeah, coming out of step 5 with a list was groundbreaking to me on my current path.
yeah, and it manifested in so many different. That same defect of character manifested in so many different ways. That's I think what confused me. You know, it was always, it'd show up over here like this, and show up over here like this, and show up over here like this, and I thought those were 4 different things. But on my list, it just says, "No, you're just a liar."
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
sometimes hard to say, sometimes hard to hear, but I got to know that if I'm going to ask for something to be removed. You know,
Right.
you can't ask for something to be removed that you don't know what it is. And that took a lot of work. You know, I don't think those character defects ever go away, but it's just kind of like step 1. If you don't acknowledge that they're there, you can't really ever work on them. And for me, the biggest issue was understanding how the same character defects wove through my entire life, and it wasn't just about drinking or whatever. It was in all my behaviors: work, home, family, relationships with men, relationships with women. So, you know, praying about them definitely helped. I think they're still there, and what's weird, I think, you know, for me, they when they don't get removed very well, it's what keeps pulling me back to the dark side, in a sense. You know, it's when we're not working on those defects, they start working on me, and they pull me back to the things that are comfortable and safe and old behaviors that I'm really trying to change and not go back to. So with that, I'll pass.
Cool. Thanks, Jesse. Nick.
I really like the way Russell Brand words this step in his book. He says, we've revealed a lot of fucked up patterns. Are you ready to stop those?
Yeah.
Seriously? Because that's really what, you know, like Jesse said, it's typically a real short list of defects that have caused this notebook full of wreckage. So it is just patterns of the same things over and over again. You know, we've learned through knowing each other deeply and working with others that these patterns are not unique. We see, you know, I can pretty much know that everybody sitting in a room has done very similar things to me. So it helps me be vulnerable and admit that I've done the same things, and it takes the sting of shame right out of those vulnerabilities, right out of those defects. But the one thing I think that a lot of people miss in this area of the program is we are rightly so focused a lot on the wreckage that our defects have caused other people. And oftentimes I see people glaze right over the fact of the pain that these defects have been doing to me.
Right. Yeah.
My lack of vulnerability before I came into this program was the catalyst for a lot of shame and regret in me. And once I learned that not being vulnerable was a defect of mine, it really exploded the ability to release that shame. Because that shame is why I drank. That shame is why I used. Because I would do some fucked up things, and then I would be ashamed of those fucked up things, and so then I would get fucked up. That's pretty much my pattern. That's the only way I could sleep, was I didn't sleep, I passed out, and then I came to.
Yep.
That was all because of that snowball of shame that rolled at me. So, yeah, do we need to look at the way our defects affect people in our lives? Do we need to start thinking about how we can become willing to lose them? Absolutely. But I'm a firm believer that I can't treat anybody else better than I'm treating myself. So if I'm not treating myself well, if I'm not releasing those defects and the pain they're causing me, then how can I expect to treat anybody else better than that? That's where my journey with that, becoming willing to release those defects, I got to put myself on that list. I got to give myself that relief too.
Thanks, Nick. Yeah, juice. Shame.
All right, so me, I always have to look stuff up. This is what it says right here in my phone. The character defects and shortcomings definitions, which are synonyms, explain the real root of individuals' disease with their habit of holding on to unhealthy resentments, fear, dishonesty, and selfishness. The first time I did a fifth step with my first sponsor, he had a book that we went through, like a notebook, and it had all these character defects written out on it, and we just kind of read them all, you know what I mean? And that was it. And it was kind of weird to me because I was like, okay. And then when I did the steps again with my sponsor now, when we did my fifth step, as we were going through my four-step notebook, he would point out, certain resentments and things like that. He said, so you're a cheater, write it down. So you're a liar, write it down. You're a thief, write it down. And it made more sense because before I was just writing down words and I didn't realize why I was writing them down or why I was asking God to remove them, really. But this time around, after I got done dropping my fifth step, I went home and meditated for an hour on each and every one of those, character defects, and then humbly asked God to remove them. And I did feel like He did remove them. And I'm working on them constantly, I really got a lot of juice out of the sixth step this time. The first time they said, it's kind of like when a rubber hits the road or whatever. The first time, it kind of did when I got to sixth, but when I dropped my fifth step the first time, because I didn't do it thoroughly, I had this spiritual hangover, if you will. I just felt blah. It sucked, and I was expecting all this relief that all these people were talking about, but I didn't do it thoroughly, And I knew that afterwards, I was like, man, maybe I should have said that. Maybe I should have said this. But I didn't feel comfortable saying it to that dude, So I sought out a new teacher and was excited to do a fifth and sixth step, And it's an amazing step for me to look at myself in that way, because I couldn't look at myself like that. Even though I knew I was, I still couldn't look at myself and say, yeah, I am. But now I can, and then I can ask God to remove it, so.
Thanks, Shane. Step 6. This is Dan. You used a word, and I'm going to pick on you every time because you're right, the one right before me that heard say something that it caught me the other day in a meeting when a guy said he was working on his character defects. And that, and he said it actually that way. He wasn't said he was working on removing them or he was working on asking, or working on steps. He was working on his character defects. And I have a little, and some more, real quick on, I don't know nothing, right? Everything was taught to me that I think I know about this stuff, so I'm not pulling any of this stuff like it's freaking Dan's knowledge. I think that goes for everybody here. What I put my energy on, what I actually put my life's energy on, is actually will grow, right? So if I like sit around and mull on these character defects a lot, I will actually like place fertilizer on them at some level. And I'm pretty sure that's not the case of what we're doing here when we do this thing about asking a higher power to take, be willing to be rid of them first off, and then asking a higher power to remove them from us. Because then, what do we do after that? We start taking some freaking action again, right? And a lot of that is getting not, that's doing things contrary to what our character defects are, right? So when we're going out making amends and doing that kind of work, or we're doing 12-step work, or we're doing those kind of things, we're doing something contrary to the actual character defects that have manifested in our personalities and in our characters over time. So it's kind of that I'm going to divert my mental energy to other people, which is what this thing says over and over and over again, as far as solutions for what nearly every problem that comes up with in a book, if you're going to be, when you have it, is to go help somebody else. It's to help another alcoholic. It's to divert to how can you be helpful to others. That continually is the solution to almost any issue I have in there. So that goes to these character defects too, right? When I start taking actions that are contrary to my character defects, they will be removed from me through my practicing of these other things. Step 6 is get a lesson, a couple sentences in the big book or something. Quite a bit more in the 12 and 12, obviously, and that's good that that's in there. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna stop there. So we are at Nick's turn. Oh no, did you? Oh, we do. We had to go all the way around. That's we're going to get a lap. Thank you, Nick, and you guys for pointing that out. Cool. We still, because we're going round table around the room and we're shifting people. I forgot that I'm not last. Erikk.
So step 6. The big thing for me is realizing that drinking was my crutch. That all of that stuff that, don't get me wrong, I can be a liar, cheat, thief, while I'm drinking. But it's those character defects that I'm trying to cover up. That I'm trying to bleed away, numb out, forget about. I loved when you said, I didn't go to sleep, I passed out, man. I lived in that world, man. And that's one of the greatest gifts, is getting through some sobriety, getting it under your belt, starting to figure out some stuff about yourself, and that peace of like, hey man, we're healing the broken beast that we are. And another thing is, if you don't know that shit's there, it's going to blindside you. It's going to continually blindside you, man. You're going to keep falling in the same fucking hole.
Yeah.
And I spent 40 years learning how to fall down into holes. Spent just over a year learning how to live my life and climb out of those holes. So it's not going to be easy at the beginning. When you were breaking down your years, man, yeah, my first year a lot of it was survival. Fucking figuring out how to do this shit without being completely, like, using my backup plan, my crutch, my safety net, and that's the lie. That's not just the booze, that's the lying, the cheating, the stealing, whatever it was, whatever crutch I used to circumvent life. Because it wasn't living life, I wasn't even surviving life. I was, how can I get around the rough patches and the corners? And that, step 6 in the big book, very short. But it's very meaningful, like when you're really doing the work. That's like where you're really like, okay, here's all the shit that's happened. Here's the stuff I need to get rid of. Like, and I don't really get to decide that anymore. Like, all my defects of character, I'll have a list of the things that I've done that are shitty, but I don't get to pick and choose what I save, what I get rid of. It's, all right, man, this work is doing its thing. I'm just sit down in the passenger seat and quit trying to grab the wheel from, jerk us into the fucking emergency lane and be like, no, it's time to stop now. I mean, that was, for me, the release, and the true gift is really learning about yourself. And that's what all the steps mean to me. But 6 is so important because it's like, man, this is addressing some of the shit that has continually plagued my entire life, and I didn't even fucking know it was there. Didn't know it was under the surface. So that is a prayer for me. Like, hey, got to work on some shit. So with that, I will pass it back.
Thanks, Eric. Good stuff, man. I heard one person say, and I don't know where I picked it up, but it brought to the point that, and it really resonated with me, that it says we're ready to have them removed. It didn't say became ready. It didn't say, any like action thing. I like the way it said if you've actually done 1 through 5 I hate to put a label on it, but if you've done 1 through 5 right, then you should be ready to have those things removed. You should. That's we're ready after you've done these other actions.
Clear enough.
Yeah. All right, we will pull the number generator back out again. I think we're next up is Nick. So draw 13, my favorite number.
Mine too. My sobriety date's the 13th.
Nice.
Friday the 13th, no less.
That's my dad's birthday. His lucky day.
Do people really know the real me?
Nope.
Man, there's so much juice in that for those of us that have gotten through the 12 steps and gotten honest, because man, before I got sober, I didn't even know the real me. My inward feelings and thoughts about myself were all directly related to how you saw me or what I wanted you to see in me. Had nothing to do with my own true north, my own compass. Had nothing to do with that. And so I wasn't even myself. I didn't even know me. How could anybody else know me? Man, that's one of the juiciest things for me in my recovery, is being able to throw caution to the wind and say, I'm going to be me. I'm going to explore me. And if someone just doesn't like that, then maybe they're just not supposed to be in my life, or at least they're not supposed to be that close. And that's okay. That's not a bad or a good thing. It's just a thing. The people that draw closer to me, the more I discover myself, those are the ones that matter the most to me. So yeah, today I'm still human, so I can't say that I'm 100% of the time an open book, but man, I strive for that. There are no secrets between my wife and I. None.
Juice.
There are no secrets between me and the guys sitting around this table or in our Spiritual Underground home group. If I have something bugging me, I tell them. And I don't have to worry about shame with them. I don't have to worry about shame with my wife anymore. And is there a certain product of that, of me not making the terrible life decisions that I used to be? Sure, I'm willing to admit that. But I'm you're going to hear me say vulnerable probably 300 times today, because I'm super
You're
stuck
at 298 now.
I'm super stuck on vulnerable right now. I've read some books that Dan recommended that talk a lot about it. It came up in a podcast this week that I listened to that was just so good. That vulnerability of just being able to make it an inside job, and if I'm happy in here, then I'm going to radiate that happiness, and people are going to want to get to know me. And one of the beauties about it is that people don't think about me that much.
Nope.
So I can be me, because I guarantee you that there's not somebody sitting in their living room right now wondering what shirt I chose to wear today. But before I got sober, I thought that they did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the freedom I have in that statement. I love that. I love that question.
Thanks, Nick.
Yeah,
Shane.
this is a juicy topic for me too. Do people really know who the real me? Know the real me? Man, I don't even know the real me yet, which is cool because I'm still learning about me. I'm still early, but I'm learning more about me every day, and setting those boundaries and being vulnerable and things like that. Like the other day, we had a friend over that I hadn't seen in a while, and she was saying how good everything, asked my wife how good everything was and things like that. She's like, I'm just learning who he is. I said, you know what? I still am too, which is really cool, because I really am finding out who I want to be, and I really don't give a fuck what anybody else thinks about me anymore. I used to constantly. I give a fuck what anybody thought about me, and I didn't even care if I knew them or not. I cared about what they thought about me, and I put up this big facade of being some big badass, and I fed off of that, But deep down inside, I knew I wasn't that person, And it feels good to let that part of me go and just be this vulnerable, just whatever comes my way kind of guy versus, caring about what other people think about me, because it's no big deal, Who cares what they think about you, It's what you think about yourself. And that's what really counts for me today is what I think about myself, and I love myself today.
Yeah. Thanks, Shane. Cool. Dan. It instantly that topic instantly brings up the definition of recovery that I'd heard, and I really lean on it. Is it says recovery is to regain or find that which is lost or stolen, and that ultimately is what I think this steps. As we say in here, it really wasn't all about the dope and the alcohol. That really wasn't what was going on. It looked like what was going on. That really wasn't what was going on. Is I had lost my very soul, my very spirit, my connection to a higher power. That however you want to put it, some of that I vacillate from if that's in me or out of me. I think it's both. But to regain that and become, the other words that we say, comfortable in our own skin. I'm okay with me today, right? That's something that I could never do before. One of the things where I see that is I'm able to actually have like no stimuli today and be okay. I used to have a radio on or have to have something on. Still want to like pour some stuff into me. I still spend a lot of time listening to podcasts and some music and things like that too. But I don't watch the TV anymore. I can actually sit and just be okay with being me, which is what I think that's that getting in touch with our very spirit, our very soul inside, and that gets back to that other definition of what this spiritual sickness is that got ill, that got poisoned. The steps uncover that. Do people really know me? I would like to think so. I think I'm a fairly open book today. I think I walk this planet pretty open about what's happening in my life in recovery. I'm obviously, like the guys that's sitting here now, we're putting this stuff out here on this microphone, which is a fairly vulnerable thing to do and let a lot of other people in. That maybe it's one thing to be sitting around the campfire sharing with one another. You start putting this stuff out into the ether, which is what we do to some level already when we share in meetings and things too. That's a big difference. That's why I was taught to share. It came easy to me.
Imagine that.
But getting other people to do that is that same thing about beginning to be okay with me, because like when I lay myself out on the table in front of you guys, you don't reject me, right? And that starts making me to where I'm okay with me, because I can put myself out here and show you my stuff, and y'all are okay with it, because that's basically what I was hiding. That's another level where I was hiding from things. I had things all bottled up because I was afraid to let you see it, right? I was afraid to let you see me. Gets back to another, these sayings and things that I've picked up along the way. The definition of intimacy is me being me and me letting you see me, right? And then to find out that, hey man, you actually like me. And when you start liking me, I can start liking me too. I'll pass, Erikk.
Let me see the exact wording. Or you can read
Be
it.
careful on that exact wording crap, because I made them up.
Do people really know the real me? I think they're starting to, because I'm starting to learn who the real me is. I know when I started this journey, I knew I couldn't do it hidden. I had to tell everybody, I'm sober now, which was, I had people, pull my wife aside when I was out of the room to be like, is this real? Is he really fucking cleaned up? Like, this is really gonna happen? And they're like, she was like, yeah, he's doing the damn thing. But I found how many things that I used to love that I loved for their purity that are just now getting back into my life. And I'm really rekindling that love affair with reading about science, like going back to collecting comics like I did when I was a kid. I mean, stuff, I don't care if anybody else likes it. I don't care if you think, oh, he's a 40-year-old dude I don't give a shit about that. Fuck you, it makes me happy. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't hurt anybody. Hell, might put my kid through college one day.
Never know.
On an accident. But, I mean, when I say that, people are starting to know the real me, it's not that I'm holding anything back. It's just I've got to learn what that means for the real me. And I feel like I'm an open book. Like if I'm struggling with something, I'll put it out there. If I'm having a good day, I put it out there. I'm gonna stumble. I'm not perfect, but anybody who wants to be along for the ride, got a seat, and we'll figure that shit out together. So the real me is being grown as I go through this whole path, and I'm very excited for what is down the road. So of course I want to share that, man. Fucking alcoholic, man. I want everybody to know when I win. You know what I'm saying? Like that's part of this deal. So I just love the growth and relearning myself, and to be able to share that with my brothers and my family, and the world people that I don't know, that never seen before, who might stumble upon this. So I'm very happy with learning the real me and sharing it with other people. So I'm Erikk. I'll pass.
Thanks, Erikk. Jesse.
So I get to go last this time, so I got to think and listen to you guys.
Which could be dangerous.
Yes, it can.
I think the answer is it depends on who you ask. A couple different things come to mind on that. So one reason I think people get hurt by us is because they do know the real us. And when we're in our madness, they see the difference between what they know to be true versus the way we're acting at any given certain time. If they thought, and I say that because as a musician playing around town and acting a fool a lot of times out in public, there's probably people that only know me as the person in the madness, or the guy who's buying shots at the bar, or the guy who's whatever persona that is. But there's other people that know that, but they also know when I'm not in the madness, or when I'm basically, even when you're not drinking, you're kind of in the madness, but when I'm not drunk or something, they know, they see those actions of when I'm sober, and they see the actions of when I'm drunk. So, is the real me the drunk guy? Maybe. Is the real me the sober guy who's helpful and thoughtful and nice and caring? Yes, it's both of those. For me, that whole shielding of everything started when I was very young, because I was a little different than other kids around me as far as in school stuff, and got isolated out a little bit because of that. So very young, I think all of us have these things that we hold dear to ourselves, and when we share them with someone, they reject them somehow, or they're told you shouldn't do that, or your parents say you can't do that, or whoever says that's wrong, this is right, you're wrong, this is right.
What do you want to be when you grow up? An astronaut. Don't be silly.
There's no way. Yeah, exactly. And I think every human being on earth has to go through that. I think for me, I think we mentioned it earlier, the drinking and drugging and stuff is a shield against that in a way. It's a way to have what I want without having to share it and have that vulnerability and be judged and be criticized. Obviously, it escalates out of control the way our minds work. But so, yeah, I mean, it depends on who you ask. I think the answer is yes and no. Do I know the real me? I think in a sense I do. I mean, that drove my drinking a lot, because the real me that I knew didn't match up with the me that everyone else needed or wanted or cared about. And that drove me a lot, just like you said. It was always, what do other people think? Mm-hmm. Well, if you don't know the real you, then you don't know if the other people don't know you, So I had a definition of myself, and so did they. And the fact that it didn't match really is what threw up all those walls and all the shielding and all the drinking and the people pleasing, if you want to call it that. I know that I learned more about myself going through the steps, when we went through the inventory and made our list of character defects and untangled that web. What was very helpful to me, but it pretty much matched with what I thought of myself. It was helpful to have it clarified and simplified, but it wasn't like other than how those things permeated my life was surprising, but defining myself, it wasn't all that surprising. It was like, you're a thief or something. It's like, yeah, I know I'm dishonest. I already know that. I know that's a natural tendency when I'm in my madness, but I'm also honest. So that polarization between your defects and what you know to be true, it kind of ended up syncing up for me. It was like, okay, great. So how do I just get back to the real me is really what I'm trying to focus on, with the steps is I kind of know myself. I don't know where my path is going, but I know I want to get back in tune with myself. With that, I'll pass.
Thanks, Jesse. So we made it all the way around, right?
Sir.
Yeah, I think so.
Just checking.
Unmanageable today.
Yeah. Very. I'd somewhat attribute it to that I'm actually paying attention to what you're saying. All right, ready, Shane?
Yep, let's do it.
He's looking. I'm not going to let him see the number.
It's 5.
35.
That's
a draw a
That
topic.
was close.
You was only 30 off.
5 in it.
Yeah, so it's a draw a topic.
Let's see what we got.
And we are 1 hour in.
What is my big secret?
Wow.
Bum, 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 bum.
And
That's pretty cool because I really don't have many secrets anymore.
So yeah, I was just say, and then that does as I was putting the topics in the pot, I got to thinking about that there could be some things that comes up that's not necessarily that something you want to air out. There obviously is like fifth step type topics that you do not necessarily break out to the world. So I don't know if that's like one of those. That might be one of those topics we may want to pass on. I'm not sure if you want. I know we'd like to say it don't have any big secrets.
Honest, I don't know that that's really something we should share out in public.
Yeah, that's what I kind of but I didn't want to do the discrimination. My initial thing was to discriminate on topics and stuff, but I thought, well, let's not do that. Because I don't know that I want to get my biggest secret out here on the Ethernet. I'm not. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sit here and be disingenuous. I'm going to be disingenuous. I'm not going to do that.
On that note,
yeah.
can I hit the bathroom?
Yeah. Hey, yeah. If you when we have to take a break in here, that's the other thing I want this whole thing to be is real. If we sneeze, if we fart, if you had to go pee, if you need a thing.
Yeah.
So pee fast.
Yeah. You better hurry. You better not poop.
I had thought about putting a bucket out here, and we just could pee in a bucket, and that way you didn't have to leave. Yeah, I had to put a little water in so it didn't sound too bad.
Yeah, they used to do that back in the day.
Dan's hardcore.
Get a urinal.
Hardcore podcast.
Get a urinal and stick it on the wall, and then we could just go over there and just drain it right out the side. And we could just shoot the shit until Erikk comes back too. If we wanted to kind of pull on the pause.
He can
if anybody's got anything in particular,
I'm sure Nick does.
Nick is flipping Shane off. We're going to have to get this. I assume actually later this. I really do have some feelings about some of this stuff moving forward, and
I like the idea
beginning to have somebody video. We wouldn't need cameraman.
Oh yeah.
I got a camera.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. You know how to use it?
I was playing around with my SLR. I got a pretty nice digital
Saturday
camera,
Night Live?
And I think it's called an SLR, ain't it?
Oh, SNL.
Think?
Yeah.
And it does video,
I guess.
Pretty decent video, really, from what I could tell. And I thought about, I could stick it on a tripod and just set it there, and it would just, or if we kind of would all move to one side of the table.
Yeah, a little closer.
I think
where
that's
the
all,
camera.
All they do on Rogan is they just have two cameras, and then when they
He just flips it back
He
and
just
forth to
flips it
who
back and
is
forth, just set up
talking.
one there, one
Jamie
there.
does. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he just does it because they're doing it live in the original one. So he's actually flipping that back with
Yeah.
whoever's talking. He's pretty Johnny on the spot with it too.
Poor guy doesn't get enough credit.
No, it's a lot of work.
The podcast I keep referencing while we're just shooting the shit. I'm a big fan of Dax Shepard. He's one of us, and he has his own podcast, which is really good. But he also was on another podcast this week where he really got to get more in depth about his own story of recovery. And he was talking about another actor friend of his coming to his house and staying over at his house. He offered his house to this friend, and Dax wasn't there. This guy woke up in the morning, was kind of like just rooting around in Dax's books and found his big book, which those of you who don't know is kind of the AA Bible. And he said his friend opened the page, and on the front page of the big book, there were 8 or 9 sobriety dates on there.
Yeah.
And all but the last one were crossed out, and there were little self-deprecating notes next to each date, like, I fucked up. A girl broke up with me, so I went back out. But the last date wasn't crossed out. And this friend of his said he cried and said, you know what, like the honesty, the vulnerability there, and the fact that this guy just won't quitting. And it may have taken him 9 times, but now he's got almost, I think he hits 15 years this year.
Yeah.
He might have already hit 15 years. But man,
I listened to that podcast last night.
I listened to part of it. Yeah.
don't quit quitting. I mean, that's one of the things I gave some love to our friend Jesse here in the beginning is, man, there's no shame, and in fact, I think there's almost more resilience in the fact that you just keep coming back and you won't quit quitting.
Thanks, man.
So that podcast has been rolling around in my head since I listened to it. So while we had the minute, I wanted to share.
Yeah, so we just decided to Erick's back now, so we just decided to shoot the shit for a minute instead of carry on. So we're all back again, and Shane has a new topic drawed, some kind of Southern Indiana hillbilly language
I
out
drew
of the
this
bucket.
one. How do I spread the joy in recovery? What more could I do? Man, how do I spread the joy? I share at every meeting, and that's one of my things since the beginning is I share. Before I got into this program, I couldn't talk in front of people or anything. I didn't think I had anything anybody wanted to hear. But now I know people want to hear me talk, and I do have something to say, that could help other people. And it doesn't even matter what the word is. It doesn't have to be anything profound, because I remember somebody was reading the promises is what made me click, and it was as simple as the word, like, I think it was like the, but it was at that point of that time, that person speaking is when it clicked, So you never know what word you say that could help somebody click, and catch on to this thing. Yeah, one of the biggest joys in my recovery is working with sponsees, man. God, it is a super joy in my life. There's a guy, one of my sponsees, that just yesterday we just finished up the 12 steps, and he's going to start sponsoring guys. And he's only got 125 days, which is freaking amazing, man. He took to it like a duck in water, like I did. This was my first go around with this thing, and I just jumped in the deep end and said, let's go, and he is exactly like me as far as that goes. I would have never thought I would have ever sponsored him. You know what I'm saying? Like, when he asked me, I was like, okay, cool, yeah, let's do this. He was an older guy, and he asked me, and I was like, okay, let's try it. And, man, it was just, I'm so glad I said yes. I was taught not to say no, too. But there are certain times when I have to, you can't save everybody at once. So I put a limit on how many sponsees I have at one time. But I also talk to those people. I say, I'll be part of your support group, and I'll talk to you every day, and guide you in the right direction, or help you find a sponsor, and I've helped several people find sponsors that way. And just seeing their lights turn on, man, it warms my heart right now just thinking about it, man, because when they get it and they get it, man, it's like, yes, yes, I'm so happy for you. And then they tell their, their family sees it in them too, and when they tell them, I'm thankful for your sponsor, things like that, for what he showed you, and helped you be the man you are today, man. And they pray for you too because of that, How else do I spread the joy? I can't think of anything else right off the top of my head, so I'm going to pass.
Thanks, Shane.
Yep.
Juice, man. Guess I'm the next one around the table.
Yep.
Dan. Celebrated that 4th birthday the other night, and there's been something that come, like Nick was talking about, that vulnerability has been on his radar lately, and it's kind of a gift thing that I don't, when things are on my radar today, I know that means I'm supposed to be looking at that, right? That synchronicity thing. That stuff is not coming around by accident. That barely scratching the limitless load, and not the LO. I was going to make that joke. That's why I asked about the spelling and who has the dirtiest mind the other night. It's LODE, just for the reference. It's not scratching the
What's that
limitless
spell?
load on the LOAD.
Okay.
So as long as I continue to mine it the rest of my life and I give it all away, right? Another thing says in there is, the more important demonstration is my life is how I walk around with my family and my coworkers and the people in the world. That's another thing. That we spread this thing inside the rooms, right? And we show what recovery can be, but we also walk around showing what recovery can be to the people who are not familiar with it, and they go, "What has happened to you?"
Mm-hmm.
And I get that all the time in my life, of where I bump into people who haven't seen me for some time, and they instantly see some other guy that they don't. You almost kind of see them like rub their eyes, like, is that? Are you the same? And I also get like a little skepticism too, like, am I pulling another con job? But it's real today, right? I get these opportunities to do this stuff and I still continue to be set back on my heels on the things I get to do to. What I hope to do is that what I think I'm doing is carrying this joy and carrying this message to other people. When it come around to me on this time around, after them first 4 years of stumbling around, I would say bouncing off the halls and walls of AA, not listening to those real important words in that first page on how it works thoroughly, completely, absolutely, all those real important words, and not doing it that way, and which is the opposite, is that half measures. Well, then I got what I got. Those consequences got bad enough and steep enough that forced my hand to do something different. It was either, I knew in my heart that I was either going to have to take this thing and do it for real, or I was going to fucking prison. And those were the two options. It was A or B. What door do you want, Dan? Pick. You get to pick at some level which one you're going to do. You're going to do what this sponsor guy tells you to do, what all these people in this room, these rooms I'm visiting are telling me to do. I'm going to keep on trying to do it my way. And once I listened and started having these blessings in my life, now I have this bucket of hope and joy and strength and experience and all that all I want to do is carry it around and pour it on you. Mm-hmm. That's all I want to do, And it seems like as long as I continue doing that, that's the primary thing in my life. As long as I keep on doing that, all this other stuff is just happening, right? I'm not really making that stuff happen. I said earlier, I take some actions towards goals and things like that, but I'm a long way from like manipulating my life. That's a word that when you were saying earlier about this dodging and that manipulating, that dodging and weaving through life, trying to see what I can not get hit with and what. Man, that's burning up a lot. That's another one of them lines that's burning energy foolishly. Today I know I do carry this message. You guys tell me that. That's where I hear it. Like the other night, celebrating these birthdays and stuff, and when these people get a chance to pour that love on you, it really does. I mean, it touches me beyond my understanding. Really, I'll start tearing up, fogging up right now, talking about it. The fact that I get to do these things today, man, and then y'all like pour all kinds of love on me for doing it, And damn, this is this whole recovery gig, man. It's not a gig, but this whole walk is just
journey.
Words keep on escaping me for what to try to put on certain things that are going on in my life. I have no words in the English language that are strong enough and pointed enough to describe what I'm getting to experience, the walk I'm getting to. I get to today, the walk I get to walk today. With that, I'll pass. Eric, did you see the topic?
Yeah. How do I it's something for me. It's something as simple as making people laugh in the rooms. Like, I do the little stupid circle game, right? And it's, I mean, I spend so much time taking myself so fucking seriously that
Great point.
I like to be able to just, like, I don't, like, laugh at me. Like, if I do something stupid or silly, like, fucking laugh at me, dude. You know, I'll call myself out when I see it. Like, oh, I spelled that wrong. I fucked that up. Like, I said that wrong. Like, but, you know, that was one thing that I was lacking when I walked into these rooms. That I know that other people who are kind of new in recovery are lacking is the ability to just fucking laugh again, man. And I mean, you might giggle like, whatever, but, you know, to just really laugh. That's fucking huge for me.
Yeah.
And if I got the ability to do that, man, to break the levity that somebody, like, you have the world laying down on you, and if you can just, like, just that one little moment to break in the laughter, it can be so huge for somebody. I know it is for me anyway. I share a lot in meetings. I try not to get too hung up on, am I saying something meaningful? I just try to share what's there, man. Get out what's in my head. Because maybe the shit that's bouncing around in my head is going to help somebody else. Like, oh shit, I'm not in this alone. Like, oh, you know, this world isn't just a fucking torture pit for just me. Other people are dealing with it. There's some solidarity in that fellowship that gives joy. Like, hey, you know, we're in the same foxhole together. You know, we've got the same bullets flying at us. So, I mean, that, you know, and then just reaching out. Like, I'm one of the people who, not because I've turned anyone down, I just don't have any sponsees. But what I do have is the ability to practice these principles. And so anytime someone asks me for help, I try to help them. I don't care if you're an alcoholic or if you're Joe Blow walking down the street. You know, I just do everything that I do to maybe help somebody else out. And that gives me joy. And then the more joy that I have, I can pass along. Like, nobody wants to go walk up to a dude who looks like the miserable fucker in the room. Like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to go sit across the room from this guy, and maybe his sad sack of shit's not going to, you know, get infecting on me. So, and it's helped with a lot of things in my life is looking at, okay, I might have this challenge or that challenge ahead of me, but what have I learned? You know, yeah, challenges will beat you down if you let them, but, you know, it's never a loss if you're learning something. Doesn't matter if you fucking fail. You learn something. That's not a failure. Giving up, that's a failure. So those are the little things that I try to, every interaction that I have in life. And I fail at that, but, you know, I get a little better. And so that's how I pass joy. You know, stupid smile. Smirk across the room, a little game, little fucking inside joke, whatever it is. Yeah, man, it just makes me happy, and hopefully it makes somebody else happy. And that's all I can fucking do in the end of the day. So I'll pass on that.
Goes along with that, we are not a glum lot.
Yeah.
If nobody could see us, if people saw us not having any fun, you know,
They
then
would
would not want this. And I'm relatively certain that that is not the energy people pick up off of when we're together.
Well,
For
yeah.
sure.
But we've all been to meetings where the energy is like that.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm so
Yeah.
thankful to find, you know, I found my first home group that was actually their reading before the meeting was
Right,
what you were
right.
quoting right
Yep.
there. And they exhibited
Page
that.
132.
Yeah, and then to find Spiritual Underground if it was the AA that was represented in television and movies where it's a bunch of depressed people,
Cloud hanging right
Yeah.
here.
you know, I wouldn't want that. And I know people in the program that I don't want what they got because they're not happy.
Oh, yeah. Miserable.
But I'm getting ahead of myself. It's Jesse's turn.
That's all right.
Sorry.
Jesse.
I was listening to you. Now I forgot what I was going to say.
Good.
Good, man.
Yeah, so it's real. So a couple things. How do I spread joy in recovery? I like to find ways outside of the rooms to nebulously throw some recovery juice out to people, especially where I work in a global big corporation company, and they get all these rules and stuff, and I try to find ways to show how those rules don't necessarily match suggestions in recovery. So a lot of times I like to same. I think the same principle is breaking the levity of all this seriousness, and joy is kind of, in a way, the lack of seriousness, if you want to call it that. It's happiness, but it's also overwhelming happiness to the point where the rules and regulations kind of don't matter, And so I always find some random quip or some saying that I've heard in recovery that applies to some situation outside of recovery, and I just love watching people. They'll be caught off guard, and then when they kind of get what I'm saying, they'll smile, and just making people smile is a big one. What I'd really like to do ultimately is transition my musical life into something that can spread, the joy of recovery. I don't really know how that is supposed to be or how that might work. But I know that as I've gone through my journey since 2010, the content of the songs that I make and enjoy is not the same as it was prior to that. When I was 21, 22 years old, every song was about fucking, drugs, partying, good times. And after I listened to however many of those songs, I'm like, that's really a limited content of the message that you have a vehicle to share to the world. And I'm working on it. I've kind of gone down that road, but I don't really know how it works. I don't really know how to do that yet, but that's my goal. So when it says what more can I do, that's what I'd really like to do, is leave not only the legacy of the sound of music, but also the message that goes along with it.
Cheers.
And
Like writing a new intro for this podcast?
Possibly. Told you I'd noodle on that. But for me personally, I need to smile more. I need to not take myself so seriously. I get out of work at 5:00, and it's just constant all day. It's a professional environment, et cetera, and then by 7:30, when meeting times come, by the time meeting time comes, or whatever, 8:00, I'm not always transitioned from that work guy to the outside world guy, and I sometimes carry that flat, straight face and I'm just tired, well, we're all just tired, but there's other people that are tired that are walking around smiling, shaking hands, talking to people, and, embodying, I think all of the guys in this room that I observe give me a lot of joy just by seeing that they're basically in the same boat I'm in, but they're not the guy not smiling, not shaking hands, not, meeting a new guy, doing stuff like this. For example, when Dan asked me to do this and I asked whether I have anything to contribute, I was just, in my mind, I was already like, yes. But then I had the reservation. And, something like this gives me joy because this isn't just sitting in a room listening to a speaker, an AA speaker or a recovery speaker. This is 5 dudes who dedicated their Saturday morning early for me. I'm kind of just now waking up over the last 30 minutes. I had a long night. But this isn't something you would get in every recovery room, so the ability to open up and do things that you wouldn't do, I think gives you the energy to spit that joy back out later on,
Yeah.
So with that, I'll pass.
Well, I will say, not to cross-talk, but dude, every
not
time I
meeting.
remember,
Yeah, right. You can cross talk.
but every time I remember ever seeing you in the meeting, the retreat, dude, you always have a smile on your face. You're never that flat face. Like, dude, you always, like, even the
Maybe you don't know the real me.
Yeah, that's maybe. But
Well, if you would have looked like that, we wouldn't have cared if you were gone.
Right?
You know what I'm saying?
I think that's the energy, though, that you pick up when you're actually around us.
I do.
Yeah.
Even my wife noticed. She's
see
like,
that.
even in the last 17 days, she's like, you're 100% different than you were 17 days before that. And, a lot of times I don't know where that barometer is or whatever, but she's a pretty good barometer. She knows before I'm going to go on a binge or something. But she was like, you just seem different about this time. And I'm like, it does feel different this time. So it's already there, I guess, and I don't even know it. But
good shit.
Yeah, this thing is contagious, and that's where we get to spread it actually outside here too. I can't all the time. I get this thing at work because you were talking about that people ask me. They go, well, "What are you smiling about?" Like the better question is, why are you not smiling? Really?
Exactly.
And that I wrote a little something come to me a while back, and I wrote a little thing about smiles. I'll post it once in a while about exercising your smile muscle. It's really one of the most powerful muscles we have because it can instantly impact other people without you even saying a word or doing anything. Yep. You can instantly impact somebody. I mean, you walk and you see somebody who has that scowl in their face or whatever, that are just maybe it's just neutral. But you can see that in them, whether it's a grocery store cashier or you pass by some mom who is exasperated at the store or various other places as we're walking around, and you just give them a freaking smile, man, and
you see them light up.
Boom!
Yep.
It just changes their moment. It's a really powerful thing.
Sometimes
and
with
I'm
no
not,
words.
Yeah,
sometimes you smile and they smile.
Silently,
That's
without
it.
saying a thing, without taking any physical action. You can smile at somebody and you can turn around their moment right there. And the other side of that. It's like for me, it's genuine, right? When I'm smiling, I'm fucking smiling.
Yeah.
I get talked to people. Two things I get talked about quite a bit is one of the things is my smile, the other is my accent.
I was gonna say your accent's got to be in there.
Nick, you're up.
Well, one of the tenets of this program is attraction rather than promotion,
Right?
And that statement really lends me to think about that. That, like we were talking about that special reading. We're not out there evangelizing this thing. We are a testament to this program. And if I'm not happy, if I'm miserable and just making it, just getting by, then who the hell wants this? Mm-hmm. I wouldn't want that. That's why it was so imperative for me to walk into a room full of joy in the first place, is that if I didn't see people having good time in recovery, then I might as well go back out to the slow death.
100%.
So that's important to me. I always feel like I can do more to spread joy. I look at some of we have friends that are just absolute rock stars of service work, and sometimes I belittle myself in their presence because I want, like, am I not doing enough? And then I have to remind myself of the journey that I'm on, that I'm trying to raise 2 boys to be happy, and they are happy. They are full of joy. When I celebrated my birthday last year, my 4-year birthday, I made the comment that I needed to do more in this year, and I needed, at the time, I didn't have any active sponsees. Well, now I have 3.
Nice.
And that's like the higher power doing for me what I couldn't do for myself. Oh, I need a sponsee. Okay, here's 3. But that I'm spreading joy to those guys, and that's awesome. Back to something that Dan said about the outside of AA, outside of these rooms, that's something that's huge and very critical to me, because there's a buzz going on around. Dan spoke about a friend of ours writing a book. There's been some other people that have wrote some books to try to bring this kind of 12-step recovery to the outside world. And I think that movement is building. And I see it in my immediate friends, because I do have this joy. I have this even-keeled baseline that I get to walk around with now because of my recovery. And people that are really close to me see that. I have brothers that see that. Some of the people that are the most curious about it are my wife's friends. They see the fact that I'm a dedicated dad, and that I come home from work happy, and that I'm engaged in my family, and that I'm present in each moment, and I'm joyful. And they've started to want that in their own lives, and I love seeing that, and I'm happy to be a part of that movement. What Dan said something about who had the dirtiest mind, and I'm in the running for that.
Yeah, you are.
But the reason why is that I have a philosophy that this is life. Why not laugh? I find there to be very few things that are so serious that I can't figure out a way to laugh about it.
Yep.
And it used to be a defense mechanism.
Right.
Now, today it's not.
Right.
Today it's just
It's authentic.
Yeah, it's authentic. Like I let that, we talk a lot about letting that little boy back out that we locked away years ago because he was traumatized. I've found a way to bring healing to that little boy and let him out and let him cut up. And I step on people's toes all the time because some people cannot take the level that I take it to. And there are times that I have to apologize for that. But my intentions are never to hurt anybody with those jokes or offend anyone. But in the face of life, I laugh. Mm-hmm. That's just the best way.
Yep.
That's my joy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Laughter is the best medicine? Is that the way that little thing goes? Thanks, Nick. Well, we have went completely around the table. And you have one? Is that where you started?
Yeah, sorry.
I started.
We got to me. You haven't pulled one, but
Yeah, you got.
No, I haven't pulled the topic yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I get to run my mouth all the time.
yeah, you do.
So that means you get to duck the blind comment.
Say what?
You get to duck having to pull the blind comment like we all did.
Pull one out. You want to go one more?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I wasn't going to end it. So
okay.
that wasn't. It's actually what I thought I might do is read that paragraph out that gets read during that Monday night meeting, the Broad Highway meeting, and maybe run around and do a concluder on that. We're at an hour and a half, and I don't really want these things. I don't know. I like to keep them, where people. Yeah, I don't want to just totally wear out
Not everybody's
episodes.
a podcast addict.
Yeah, because I can do the 3 and 4 hour podcast without any real problem.
You got to leave something hanging for the next time.
Yeah, which I don't think, that's another thing. We don't seem to run out of gas when it comes to talking.
Hour and a half, it's like, now we're starting to get into our stride.
Right,
Yeah. And that's, I guess that could get into a whole
turn.
another thing about editing these things. And that's another thing I don't really want to do, man. We had an opportunity where we're getting into editing these things, man, that's a pain in the ass. I just want to turn on the mic and let it go,
You just do an hour and a half break at part 2.
And I'm starting to get better there, too. I was really determined on listening to them thoroughly, maybe 1 or 2 times before I released them. What I'm doing now, like paying a little more attention while we're here, and making sure so that way when we're done, I can clip it, man, and release it.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to go back and play with it. There's one of them where we were sitting here and there's a big old oak tree over top of this thing. And I call it my backyard patio umbrella. In summertime, it's a giant oak tree. If you Google Earth the house, you can hardly see it when that thing is full canopied out. But it was dropping acorns. It sounded like gunshots. I can't remember whose talk it was. It might have been Chase's. I can't remember what it was.
Chase, yeah.
But it was pow, and I could come in here and clip them out. But man, it's that tedious to sit there and listen to these gunshots and clip it. And then finally, I just went, you know what, screw it. I quit. I took like
part of the vibe,
a half a dozen or maybe of them out of the beginning of it. And one of them was really, really sharp. But I got thinking, like the dogs
dog in the background. Yeah, I was going to say that.
Which I grew up in this house or in this house, and I've heard those coon dogs my entire life.
Here come the
Sirens got them going, so it's not just that they're barking for nothing like they do so often.
I like the Bumpus' dogs. Like Christmas Story.
So this is
Turkey.
Yeah.
This is that paragraph we were talking about. It's actually a couple paragraphs out of the. It's chapter 9. It's a family afterward that. So I'll just read it and we'll go around and we'll share on that. We'll kind of do what I like. One of my podcasts. One of my other favorite podcast guys is Steve Ranella. He does one on hunting. And I don't know, I just love his vibe and the way he operates in there. And at the end of it, they do a concluder where they run around and everybody's got a final thought. We get something on, do that. So we'll talk on this, or if you just have a concluder, whatever, and we'll run around and close today up. It says, we have been speaking to you of serious, sometimes tragic things. We have been dealing with alcohol in its worst aspect, but we aren't a glum lot. If newcomers could see no joy or fun in our existence, they wouldn't want it. I always heard this one. There are no rules in AA, but here's one. We absolutely insist on enjoying life. We try not to indulge in the cynicism over the state of the nations, nor do we carry the world's troubles on our shoulders. When we see a man sinking into the mire that is alcoholism, we give him first aid and place what we have at his disposal. For his sake, we do recount and almost relive the horrors of our past, but those of us who have tried to shoulder the entire burden and trouble of others find we are soon overcome by them. So we think cheerfulness and laughter make for usefulness. Outsiders are sometimes shocked when we burst into merriment over a seemingly tragic experience out of the past. But why shouldn't we laugh? We have recovered. We have been given the power to help others. And that's where they end, right?
Yeah.
So, that is a really cool paragraph. Is one of the meetings that touched me, and heard that reading. We all hear the promises, we hear other things. The closing, the closing that a lot of people read. That last paragraph on page 164 is another thing that touched me. There's a ton of magic in this in the pages of this big book that as time goes by means more and more, and the meanings change for some of this stuff to me also as we kind of evolve in our recovery. The deeper meanings, or maybe not even deeper, but the meanings of some of these words in here change for me. I won't go in any particular order this time. If
That's
somebody
what I was
wants to
gonna
go
say,
first, we'll just go around the room, make sure everybody gets a final chance to share on that or a concluder, and we'll just go with who wants to go next. It looks like Shane's
chomping at the bit here because mine's going to be short and sweet, and I didn't want the podcast to end on me because it is short and sweet. When we often burst out into merriment and I laughed into the mic, I do that at that home group. When they're reading that and I laugh, and sometimes people are looking like, what's he laughing about? But I love to do that part of that because when I came into rooms, I saw people laughing and I was like, what are they laughing about? How can they be laughing about this stuff, And it made me curious about how are they so happy about what happened to them in their lives. So now I know because I've done it myself. So that's all I got.
Thanks, Shane.
Jesse and I were over here.
That's
sorry,
Nick.
Sorry for those of you that were just listening. We were miming out that paragraph because
I'm glad you described that.
when we were part of that. When I was part of that home group, there were a few of us that had made up actions to go along with that paragraph, and it just reinforced the not taking ourselves so seriously. That you have a room of like 40-year-old alcoholics that are like making hand motions to describe that paragraph.
Miming through it.
Yeah, it was always my favorite part of that meeting. It was just funny. But, some things that stuck out to me on that one that have been really relevant to me lately is we avoid the deliberate manufacture of misery.
Amen.
That one, that one's really hit home. I've been in the process of really inventorying and shedding the things that have been doing nothing but bring me misery. A few years ago, I ditched Facebook. Just don't need it in my life. A couple, Dan's one of them that had expressed that he just no longer paid attention to the news anymore. Mm-hmm. And shortly after my sobriety birthday last month, I guess it's 2 months ago now, I thought, you know what? What good is paying attention to CNN doing me? I only makes me upset, and me having knowledge of these things, does it do anything but bring me misery? Mm-hmm. And so I think it was the 14th or 15th of December. I put the news down, haven't picked it back up, and when somebody tries to talk to me about some controversy that's going on, I stop them. Yeah. I listen. That's not my thing. I'm not in government. I'm not going to change anything. The only thing I can do is be the change right here that I want other people to be. And so I've really focused on that deliberate manufacture of misery. I've been shedding other social media stuff because I just see it. One of our friends calls it the snake pit because it is. It's carefully curated lives is on one hand, and then it's a bunch of controversy on the other hand. And I just that is bringing me a lot of joy. Is getting that deliberate manufacture of misery just right out of my life. It's become a big boundary thing. If that's all you and I have to talk about, then maybe we don't need to talk.
Yeah.
So,
Juice. Thanks, Nick.
All right.
What I hear reversed out of that, the tide. We went around the table one way, and now we're going the other.
We're somewhat
cool.
manageable today.
Yeah.
Don't get too far.
One line in there says we absolutely insist on enjoying life.
Right.
And I think for me, I wouldn't be here if I was enjoying life. If I wasn't enjoying life
here,
now.
Yeah.
But in the past, I wasn't enjoying life. That's really what drove me to get here. If I could walk through life and do what I was doing and be happy, I wouldn't be here, right? But that wasn't working for me. So I have to remember that too. I have to remember, like we mentioned before on the other topic, is if we're walking around miserable, go back to the slow death. And that's kind of where I was when I went back out. I was miserable kind of by my own manufacture, in a sense. And maybe I was less miserable than I thought I was. But I got to a point where it was equivalent, and that's, if it ever gets equivalent, you're going to go back to the easier, softer way, because this isn't really easy. It's simple, but not easy. And I tried that, and obviously got equivalent again, and I wanted to go back to where I was. But yeah, Nick, thanks for sharing that. That was always the favorite part of that meeting too. Is we would read that at the beginning of every meeting and get the more people who acted it out, the cooler I think it was to the newcomer for sure. Because they're like, what the fuck are these guys doing? They're looking over there, interpretive dancing to the recovery reading. And so I do want to say thanks to everybody for having me today. Like I said, I was a little hesitant about where I was spiritually to come in here and talk about this stuff. And
it's a joy to have you, bro.
Dan appreciate it.
So happy to see you
here,
Jesse.
Cool. Thanks,
maybe
guys.
Maybe it was you who had us, right?
Yeah.
You decided to come in here and share with us.
Maybe, yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, say, just to jump in there, when the first couple ones, Todd was set in on it. I don't remember how many.
Yeah.
I think he said 12 days. I can't remember.
Yeah.
He was real
And
early.
Vlad was really, and he didn't
just
participate,
take 3 days,
but
yeah,
he was like
just-
3 days
yeah.
sober, sitting just sitting with us and participating.
He's more of a beast
Think
than
about
me.
it. You were saying something like this: opportunities we have to. Another one of my taglines that I've stole from somebody else is participating in my recovery. We get to participate in our recoveries doing this in a way that very few people get to do, right? I mean, who gets to do this, right? And so those guys get to come and they're brand freaking new, man.
Yeah.
And they get to come and sit and do that. And they're like, whoa, you think that little bit of mime and stuff through that meeting, man, you get to come and go, these dudes are really doing the deal, man. They're taking time out of their day to sit down. So, I mean, the gift that we're able to, you said spreading joy was one of the topics tonight. The gift that we're able to do when we lay that stuff at these other newcomers' feet.
Well, and the newcomers that come that do stuff like this, the more contact points you have, the harder it is to rip away. I mean, it's just like, we're sitting in a wood shop. If you're putting two boards together, the more screws you put in there, the harder it is to rip apart. So the more you participate in your recovery, the harder it is to separate you from your recovery.
Yeah. Glue.
Yeah.
Eric.
I'm going to break the mold a little bit. The tone of that to me is always hope and gratitude, right? The stuff that we've done to get to where we are, that doesn't get erased. It's just something there, part of our story. But, there's a lot of people, but there's a lot of people that, I got to go to this meeting. I've got to go to this meeting. Not because they want to go, because, social norms of going, I'm in recovery, so I need to go to these are the 3 meetings where I'm safe. I'm not challenged, whatever. I can't do that. If it keeps somebody else sober, that's their deal. We had the ability to go to your retreats, extracurricular stuff. Dude, I never looked at any of that or this or Tuesday nights or any of that stuff. I never looked at it like it was a pain in the ass. It's fun, man.
Oh, yeah.
And the work is, it's not easy. It's work.
Not always easy.
Not always easy. It's simple, but it's not easy, right? But to me, dude, it's fun. I'm growing with my brothers. And I have that gratitude, man. I've got that hope that dude, in sobriety, I'm way happier than I was ever when I was miserably in that madness. Don't get me wrong. There were good days when I was in the madness. Mostly probably pre-madness, like actual full-blown madness. But I don't want to cause that wreckage to other people anymore. I don't know that I wanted to do it then. But it was, fuck you, get out of my way. I'm going to have my way, right? And I don't live like that anymore. I don't have, I have a short memory. I don't remember shit anymore because I don't have to fucking remember shit anymore, right?
We were talking about
The
that
truth
earlier.
is easy to remember.
Truth is easy to remember. But, fuck the little things when you don't think about getting sleep, not passing out. Smiling, not just going through the motions. Talking to your wife instead of just the Peanuts voice, the teacher voice, you know. Not waiting for your turn to talk, but listening, have a conversation, an active conversation. I mean, dude, getting rid of the news, fuck it. You know, if somebody comes up to me at work now with any of their swampy stuff, no to the rest of whatever you're gonna say.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry, I just don't want to engage. I don't need that. I'm sorry that that's the way that you feel. Somebody else will talk to you about it. But I have such a love. I am so like the spiritual underground and my support system. It's so fucking dynamic. That's a big word for me in recovery. Is dynamic. It couldn't just be a straight do this. All right, well, now you're done. That would have been miserable, man. I lived in a routine when I was in the madness. I don't need a routine now. I need growth and spontaneity and dynamics in how I grow and how I live my life now. And that's that hope, man. That's that gratitude. And the more that I get, the more that I pour out, right?
Yep.
And it's when you pour that out, it's like this cup just fills with new good shit. And it's a fucking amazing. And I really have a credit to, because I only did so much. It's my support system teaching me and helping me to grow that I have that amazing amount of gratitude for. And, you know, it's just, maybe at some point I'll think of something or say something that helps one of them. And that's huge to me too. But it's a happy life where I'm not the fucking train wreck, you know, that's taken all those passengers with me. So I'm grateful, man. I'm hopeful.
Yeah, man. Cheers, brother.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks, Eric.
I continue to be amazed what I get to do to participate in my recovery today. The different things that have handed to me, the people I get to do it with. You know, we get to do this together, right? I get to have some amazing people around me today. Right now, the chills run up the back of my spine right now where I feel this thing that is just so beyond anything I could have imagined. You know, it's that high that we've been looking for, that elusive high that we were looking for the whole time. You know, but it always had the down.
Lasting.
There was always the hangover with that, the down end of it, the running out, all the other negatives, all the bullshit, the consequences and all the stuff. And like, this has none of that, right? This is just the polar opposite of all that. This is just a never ending, that limitless load that I get to keep on mining, and the more I mine, the more I get back. The more I put in me, the more positives that I put in me, the more I'm positive I'm able to spill back out. It's that whatever I put my focus on is what grows. You said something earlier too, man, about like shining light on all this stuff too. That's another word that bring the light onto all this stuff, and we don't have to be hiding anymore. Back in the dark. I can almost like have this visualization of myself as like a crouching rabid animal, like up under some dark spot.
Yeah, a little cockroach.
Yeah, just hoping to not get seen, and don't freaking open the door because I don't want the light in, and don't want anybody to be able to actually, because the big fear was that you would see me, right? Mm-hmm. That was one of the things that I run around doing was hiding. I was a workaholic because as long as I could continue to like work at that level, you couldn't see that camouflage. I thought that camouflaged that other side of me. Mm-hmm. Thanks, guys, man. I wouldn't be able to do this without you all, right? Nobody, this whole we thing we do here and coming in and if it doesn't help anybody else, man, when I walk out of these things when every single one of them, man, I'm totally juiced up. If it's a one-on-one with somebody, or if it's these, I want to continue to keep these roundtable things in because I just really love the vibe, and I tell myself that there'd be trouble to like have more people, but I'm not sure it really would be. If we could, have more and just share the microphones and move them around to whoever's talking, I don't think that's a problem. I think that's a little hang up I got in my head about keeping them at certain levels. What I don't want to do is get in a routine. So maybe we'll have 10 people one time, one person another, 5 another, do some other stuff. I like to do them on remote, like the way we went down to the cabin, or maybe we got some other places we might go. Maybe we can even do kind of a live ones once in a while if we're all out together and doing something where you can just record them. Maybe 'cause you can record these things on a telephone and use that audio. It's decent enough quality today. So we'll close up with this. I always want to get like a commercial out, sort of. For our website is where you can come see some show notes. You can see pictures of us, that kind of thing. It's at spiritualunderground.org. Spiritual Underground, just like it sounds, big long lot of letters, but spiritualunderground.org. You can see show notes. You see some things once in a while about coming up, and I'm hoping to add some features. There's also a place on there where you can contact us if you want to give any feedback, or if you would like to maybe contribute to this and be one of the people to have your story told and broadcast off of this podcast. So once again, Erikk, Jesse, Nick, Shane, love you all deeply. You know I do. You mean the world to me. Get to do this thing.
Y'all, yeah.
Amazing.
My brothers.
I wouldn't have what I have today if it wasn't for you guys. Peace out.
Deuces.